Hi, and thanks for purchasing Any Card Collector. This is a tutorial and we'll show you exactly what you need to do to perform this trick. Very, very simple, I can promise you. One minor sleight of hand, but I'll talk you through everything you need to know. So let's have a look at what we get within the deck. You've got a normal deck of cards. In this case, I've got a blue deck. If you've got a red deck, it makes no difference. It's just the backing that we're interested in this stage. This could be any deck of cards and you can literally utilize anything that you wish. The main part that makes the trick work is our Gimmick Card, and you'll have a little package here, and these will always be a different colour than the other cards that you're using. Now in this case I've got red, and these are called double backed cards, which means they're the same on both sides. Often you'll be able to get these in a deck of cards when you buy them as a little thank you for buying them, and it's a thing you can do with different tricks. So I'll be using those. Now there's three within them. Now the third one, you won't quite see this, but there's a small red dot on the top, and this tells me that this is the main gimmick card. And if you gently touch the card in the circles, you'll find it's very slightly tacky, and this is to allow it to stick to another card once you begin the trick, and it just allows for a nice easy cleanup, as you'll see. One of the things to bear in mind, after a few uses, you will find occasionally the stickiness will start to ease off and you need to put a little bit more on. So there's three options if you need to touch it up. Number one, which is my least favourite, it's a Repositional glue stick. I do find that this is a little bit too sticky though, and leaves a lot of raised bumps on it as well, and it attracts a lot of dirt as well. If you do have a small stick of beeswax, this works really, really well, and you just need to rub it a few times over the back and it will just leave a small bit of invisible residue that will allow the card to stick. However, one of my favourites is a spray Repositional glue. You can get this in any hardware shop, and generally what I'll do is I'll make a small hole in a piece of paper. This is often done with either a pair of scissors or in this case a hole punch. I might do two holes, but I'll then hold that over the card, cover the corner bit, and just go one very, very light spray. Once you've done the spray, just touch it up a few times to get the excess sticky off, and you'll find it will be good to go for many, many more performances. As you can see, it sticks very well at the moment. So that's how we set this program up. So let's have a look at the actual setup and how we perform this trick. Okay, the setup is very simple. You'll have the one slightly tacky card on the back with the red dot. That's going to be your first card to use within the trick itself. A normal double backer, and then the third double backer, which we're going to lose on the bottom of the deck. So it'd look like this. Now it's not often that people will see that, but as you're moving the deck around and showing it, just make sure we don't spread too far until you see that final red card. If you want to spread them, I normally start the spread but allow the last part to stay where it is, and nobody's really going to question that there is a red card at the back. Now if you're a little bit nervous, you can actually hide that red card by placing one card over the top. This allows you to show the deck on both sides, and then just while you're talking to people and fidgeting, just make it look like you're doing a cut, and I just literally pull that off the bottom and place it back on the top. I may even just make a quick move across and then again placing that card back on the bottom, nice and relaxed, but it's very easy to do. So red card on the bottom, and we've got our two other reds here. Sticky one is on my right hand side. Now the story is going to be very much that we're going to ask you to choose a card from the deck, and the customer can choose any card that they like. In this case we'll pop that forward. Now it doesn't matter if you see it, or they can keep it to themselves. If you want, they can also sign it. In this case we'll go for the 7 of spades. Now I'm just going to place it on the top, but what I need to do now is shuffle it into the deck, but most importantly I need to get the 7 of spades, the chosen card, at the bottom on top of the red card. And we're going to do this by using a double undercut. Now this is very simple. All we're going to do is to create a small gap between the 7 and the rest of the deck, and you're going to take it in your left hand, dominant hand, ready to deal. Now I am actually left-handed. A lot of you will be right-handed. You'll do it the opposite way round, obviously. Now the easiest way to do that is once you've taken the card, just turn it over, and the way I'm holding the deck, and this is a nice relaxed grip, the meat of my thumb is just pressed in. So when I place that card on and drop it, and I'm making this a little bit obvious here, you can see that it is actually sticking up. I can then reach over and take the whole deck with that gap still here, and then the red card is at the bottom. If they don't want you to see it, just take the card and ask them to place it on there, and you can literally position it. And again, I've got the meat of my thumb, and as you can see from the exposed view, there is a gap there. Now, as I take the cards, and I'll make this as obvious as I can for you, you'll notice that gap and the red card is at the bottom. I'm just going to peel half the deck off, and I'm going to place it over the top of the card that I've stuck out, which is the 7. Now that's fairly obvious there, but we are doing the exposed view. I then take the second pack of cards and place them on top. Those two movements have allowed me to move the 7 straight over on top of the red card. Now it can be quite a natural move, as you'll see when we put this on. So we're going to go for the 7 of spades, which is a great card. Now I just need to move this into the deck a little bit, so I'm just going to shuffle them and cut the deck a few times. If you make it look a little bit messy, that's fine, but it does look like it's been shuffled in and they haven't seen the switch. I'll then probably continue to do a quick shuffle, and this is what we call a full shuffle, where I'm going to scissor cut with my forefinger, just sliding that across and taking that top deck within my thumb and forefinger and holding it there. I'm going to scissor cut the next one across on top, and maybe one more. Bearing in mind we've got the 7 and the red card at the bottom, as I place that on top, I'm just leaving a break that my finger is touching. I'm then going to peel them off, putting that back on top, and it now looks like a natural cut where I've cut the deck a few times. So if we look at that all the way through, I've got my red card on the bottom and the 7 of spades on the top. I get my slight break. Again, this is in kind of exposed view. We do 1 on top. There's the 7, 2 over the top. I'll then cut a couple of times and then place them down, ready to go. The beauty is people can have a look at the cards here. There is no sign of their card. The obvious reaction is it's in the deck, but we have put it onto the bottom. Once more time, we turn it over, we leave a small gap, we peel half the deck off, place it on top of the 7 of spades that's got the gap, and then with the gap I flick the next lot across. That's moved the 7 to the bottom. We then can just 1, 2, 3, pinky break on top. I can now tell where that is, and literally now place them down. It looks like a natural cut of the cards. Now at this stage we're pretty much good to go, and I like to hand over to the spectator at this stage because it makes it more powerful. If you don't mind, I could ask you, we're going to cut the deck a few times, but if you could make your first cut of the deck. Now they'll lift off part of the deck and place it down. We're now going to move to our Gimmick Cards. I can see this one has the red dot, which has got the slight sticky on it, and this one is the plain one. So the sticky one will go first. I'm just going to place this halfway along the pack, and I normally do this myself to make sure that there's no sort of feeling of the sticky, although that is actually quite hard to tell. I'll then ask them to cut the pack and place it back on top of the next one, and they'll place it across here. And I'll ask the person I'm doing the trick to then please take the other red card and put it over the top of the other card, and then finally they'll put that on top. We can square it off, and we can show them quite clearly that there is a big gap between the two double-backed cards. At this stage I'll probably say, please push them in for me, and they'll push them in. Now we're going to lose the sticky one now because it's not touching anything, but where we've put the bottom of the deck on top, we've now positioned the cards perfectly so that when we spread them, you'll notice that we've got the 2 red cards and 1 in between, and as we see, that is now the 7 of spades. Now the reason for the sticky one is as I've spread them, that sticky one is now just tacky and touching one of the blue cards. You don't want to spread it so it shows. Now it's very easy to find when a quick reset, you'll go through here and one of these is going to be slightly thicker than the others, and you just need to separate them. The easiest way though is just to turn them over, and you'll see that it's in the deck here and it's just stuck to that other card. Make sure that there's no sticky on it. It very rarely transfers, and you're pretty much good to go. So I've got my normal 1, 2, 3, put the deck back together, and you're ready to go again. At this stage I always try and keep the sticky face up, and then 1, good to go. So thank you for purchasing Any Card Collector. Keep practicing that double underhand cut and you'll be absolutely fine, and you'll amaze your friends for years to come.